All right, ladies and gents, welcome to your new favorite podcast about Smite eSports, the one, the only, the view from Valhalla. My name is Will the Thrill, and you'll hear me with a guest each episode as we go in depth about professional Smite. And one of the main differences about this show is that I go in depth each week about strategies in the Smite meta with my guests. Today, I have the pleasure of hosting Draylo, coach of Noble Esports, on my show. How are you feeling after that close set in qualifiers, my man?
Eighth place is ours.
I love the optimism there. There's one thing that I am really curious about actually, and that is that in my time just talking with people around the SPL, is that the term coach seems to be a pretty fluid term. Different coaches do different things for your team. So, what's your role as a coach, and how would you define an SPL coach these days?
um, I guess I'll just start with my role. I handle competitive bands completely. I focus a lot on gameplay, and I'm basically what you'd expect a coach to do. I focus a lot on gameplay, do a lot of the VOD review, lead VOD review a lot of my team, and I also sort of try to manage the environment, try to keep egos in check, and try to keep everyone focused, and try to keep everyone calm and constructive and focused on improvement.
All right. Now, would you say that this is becoming a more standard thing in the SPL, or is your role still a unique one? Because obviously, I mean, you've got the credentials to back up what you're doing here, and it's just like you see other guys come and go. But I'm
Um,
still wondering.
yeah, I think it's starting to become the standard because sorry, Dion. As of late, sort of immaturity. People have come to value maturity in team environment a lot more, and in Smite teams, and so players are less and less getting away with being immature and reinforcing bad habits just because of their player skill. And not only are they less and less getting away with it, but they're also getting more punished for it because teams are catching up and people are starting to realize the fruits that come from having a constructive and a mature environment and the level of play that an environment like that can produce. So I think people are starting to value coaches a lot more than they would in the past because I guess like one of the biggest things as of why people wouldn't normally go for a more like a authoritative like gameplay or sort of like a coach that was going to like manage the environment was because of basically egos on the team thinking that they didn't really need the extra help there or that the person couldn't really help the team or couldn't really do anything. They just wanted to like manage everything by themselves. And I think that's starting to become a less and less of the norm. I think the sort of standard coach or what you think would be a coach is becoming more and more of the norm.
Yeah, so I think I can relate that to all the listeners. Is that when I was working actually with the Phoenix Smite League, which was an amateur thing, I don't work with them anymore. They're good guys, but anyway, a lot of players there, they're all self-directed, and it's like since everybody's in high school, a lot of times what I noticed is that they're still developing a lot of professional habits, and because they're all amateurs, nobody feels that in how shall I say it? They don't feel that tied to the leagues they play in, so it's like really really hard to get them to do what you want them to do. And I can kind of imagine that in the SPL, a lot of players being in high school still, it's a similar situation. So I can definitely see where you come in there. That's a pretty valuable thing you do.
Right. I would say it's a lot easier for me now because I've sort of been in the scene for a while and I've had success, and I sort of have that like I guess appeal. I can sort of like use that appeal to authority to basically like I basically have respect just because of where my position was. How if you're like a new coach in the scene, or if you're entering the scene, if you're joining a team, if you're just like a ranked player or random, you're trying to like command that respect. Yeah, that's gonna be like a hard thing to do. It's gonna be like a lot harder than it would be from instead of like someone from my position. But yeah, no, that's definitely a big issue. Is that's sort of like a prevent the NA scene from like improving and eventually like which in my opinion one of the main reasons why Europe overtook us after season 2 and like season 3 was because of the immaturity of the scene.
Us being enemy?
No, like the us being like NA as a whole.
Oh, EU. I thought you said eager. I was like, what?
Oh yeah, my bad.
Well,
I
that's
guess I'll.
actually this is actually a pretty interesting tangent we've gone off on right off the bat here. So, real quick, just to wrap this up, I would like to know if you have any recommendations for people looking to get into coaching. Where would you recommend they start? Would you recommend the college league or the Challenger Cup? How would you recommend they start?
Just play smite ranked. Make friends. With people you and also like make friends with people you think are good, and then make teams with those friends. And you're gonna get dicked on for the first like week or two. You're gonna get absolutely trash. It's just how it is. But don't get like discouraged if if you do. I mean, it's not even a question of if you're gonna get trashed. When it happens, don't even get discouraged. Like just keep it in your mind that this is gonna happen. A lot of teams like when they're new teams in SPL, especially like Soar is a great example of this. Like old Soar of Herwind and like this current version of Soar are prime examples of this, where they just go through this adjustment period where they're getting used to each other and they're like learning new things and they're learning how to play with each other, and they just get completely dicked for a couple weeks, and then they start to find their form, and that's when they start to take off. And it's gonna be like the same thing. No one's gonna like sort of make a new team, especially like 5 inexperienced players, and just come out of the gates and be competitive. You just need to stay constructive, stay mature, and just focus on fixing the issues and being productive.
Yeah, well, one of the things that everybody seems to attribute to Soar's success in the spring split actually was Fine OK being brought onto the roster. I'm sure you've heard that a lot, but one of the things I notice about him, and actually a similar quality I notice in like Aquarius and Dante LaFargo from the Challenger, the relegations,
It's an odd mix.
I noticed that one of the big things that they all displayed as solo laners is this ability to just stay steady and stick with the game plan that the team is running. And that seems to be something that's a really, really valuable quality in solo laners. Like,
Oh, okay. Yeah, I get what you're saying. I thought you were like talking about their gameplay. I was so confused. Because whatever, it doesn't matter. Yeah, no, I completely agree with that. Like, the biggest reason why, a big reason why you sort of like saw that change was because like Sora. Well, coincidentally, they also like figured out like why they're losing like all of their games in that time period that we saw like Benji or Salt leave, but also because Salt is kind of like a neutral personality on a team. He doesn't tear anybody down, but he doesn't build anyone up. Whereas Final K, like this guy, he's like new blood. He brings a lot of energy. He's a very, very good he's a very good personality for the team. He like constantly hypes. He's constantly communicating, hype everyone up, and sort of like the combination of those two things sort of led to them just taking off and just ending up qualifying for Masters and getting dicked by EU.
all right, so speaking of EU, I do want to kind of start going down the list of things here. I know that you were like a little bit about EU qualifiers, and to be honest, I kind of share some of that sentiment. So overall, what did you
He's
think about
fucking
the
boring.
Really?
Yeah, I don't like EU. I don't really like EU. I think they're fucking boring. Um, but I wasn't surprised that the two CSC teams made in, knowing like the two SPL teams, but especially like I thought for sure Lineguard was going to be out, but I was kind of surprised that Sangwon didn't make it in. I'm especially sad to see Cherio not currently in the SPL from what we know, because not only do I think he's like one of the most underrated players in Europe, but I think he's like an amazing fucking jungler. I think it's I think it's fucking tragic that he's not in the SPL.
Yeah, well, I got to agree with you when we talk about the Challenger Cup teams getting in. I'm not surprised about either, just based on the way roster changes affected Novus Orsa and Sanguine. Like, to me, when I saw Novus Orsa, I recognized both Axios and Rebound from the Challenger scene, and neither of them had been performing well in Season 4, and like even dating back to Season 3 Fall. Neither player had been performing that well on a Challenger level. So them falling out of favor was pretty unsurprising, and then I just felt like Sanguine put their worst players in their hardest carrying roles, honestly. Like, and Cherio was supporting. I just didn't agree with that.
I feel like a lot of that was also the best of one format,
Yeah.
because I think things would have been different if had there been a best of 3 in both regions, or at least like if they had like or they had like a similar format to the old League of Legends format, or is like and the old Smite format as well, where it is top CC versus bottom SPL, and there are 2 face off in like a best of 5.
Yeah. So if it changes to a system like that, do you see line guard staying?
Oh fuck no.
All right, but you do think that if Sanguine
I
had a
think
chance,
Sangwon
they'd
could
stay?
have. Yeah, yeah, I think Sangwon could have. I think Sangwon could also. I think Sangwon could have possibly won the best of five. I don't really know that much about EU, but I definitely think it could have been competitive. But looking at North Sosa especially, just knowing from their team when I saw their 3v3 and the mid lane, the mid jungle support, that's what the 3v3 is. It's very crucial that they have like sort of like a not only one but like usually you want two. Usually you want like a primary and secondary shot caller to be functioning that 3v3, so you can not only have that communication, but also be able to take initiative in the 3v3 and actually like take initiative in Smite, because in Smite, taking initiative is so important. Even if you're behind, you need to be constantly taking the initiative, because if you're ever playing reactive, you pretty much just lose the game. Because it's like incredibly hard to like sort of stabilize from that point. But just looking at that their team, and like from what I knew about their previous team atmosphere, and from what I knew about their replacements, I saw like no chance of them even winning a game.
Yeah, I just thought that for Axios and Rebound to be on that team, it was just like that was it for me. Like honestly, I thought Frostiak and Ducky were their best players, and I know that they removed Frostiak,
Yeah.
but I think that that was actually a downgrade where they
Oh
tried to
yeah,
shake
yeah.
things up, and it just didn't
But
work.
the problem with the Shadow Nightmare Frostiak Frezzy 3-3 is they don't really talk much.
Yeah.
And I'm sure you've heard things about Shadow Nightmare.
Well, anyway, what do you think of the roster changes in North America? I know that you guys over at Noble picked up 2 guys. Flashpoint picked up 3 people. So that was pretty
Uh,
significant.
yeah. Flashpoint, that was like kind of expected. They kind of just found like the best possible players they could have gotten their role after they kicked Incon, they kicked Xeno, and then Aquarius left for our team. As for Quick and Sauce, they sort of like did the same thing. They just filled out the roster with the best possible players they possibly can after Keys left. Uh, shit, what's the one team I'm missing? Oh yeah, Gatekeepers. They said again. As for our team, sort of leading up to like the end of the split in that lane, we were like we had like a lot of like I guess team and environment issues after the loss to the Flashpoint when Wubbin slept in and I had to sub in, and we had a lot of team environment issues with like with Chapo especially, not only being sort of mature and acting appropriately in scrims, but also just showing up to scrims. But we were still committed to working with him and like trying to talk things out. But often talking things out with him would just lead to him getting incredibly angry, or well, this is sort of the flow chart. He tried to deflect blame at first, so whether it be on some like micro non-issue, so he would just say like, oh, it was a oh, Wowie and Stealth weren't grouped in that fight, but they were grouped, and he's basically just obviously just trying to deflect blame by like scapegoating somebody. And if that didn't work, he would just get insanely angry and just sort of like rage at the whole thing and trying to like bully the other person to submission. And that was pretty much what happened for the majority of the split. Even then we're still committed to working with it, because like at that point we didn't want to make a roster change. We were all tired. All 5 of us were sort of tired of making changes and stuff like that. We just wanted to stick with the same roster. But eventually, we had that anger sort of escalated to like threats of physical violence at that land, and so I think at that point we decided to make a change. And our original plan was to keep Uzi, but Aquarius approached us and offered to join us, and we all like immediately decided that was a no-brainer to take Aquarius over Uzi.
Well, I hope you guys work things out with Chapo because, in Smite, one of the things I notice, and a lot of fans tend to make this really, really crazy and overblown a lot of times from what I can tell, is that, players will break up and they won't go with their team, and then everybody's like, this guy's literally Hitler for the rest of his life. Like, we can look at the Incon and Weekend situation, and it's like, to me, that's old news, and everybody should just put it behind them. But you go on a Reddit with something about either player, and then there are like 10 people who pop up, and they're like, yo, Weekend's a
It's
backstabber, or Incon sucks. And it's like, dude, nobody cares anymore.
It's kind of like how it is in all walks of life. I mean, it's just tribalism at the end of the day. People just start picking sides, and instead of like emphasizing the other sides and humanizing like their ideological opponents, they're just creating them as like the absolute worst person possible, and basically creating them up as weak and infallible strawman.
Yeah,
And
but it's all a business though. That's the way I see it. I mean, it's unfortunate when people don't get along, but it's like I feel like a lot of that has to do with the stress of the work that you guys do, and nobody seems to rate that as highly as they should.
yeah, and yeah, that comment was more towards like the community's reaction to it. As
Right.
for like as for like I feel like people also like they also try to like apply their own like morals and ethics to a lot of situations. Like a lot of people are saying that like, how dare Weekend kick Incon after Incon got Weekend on the team, blah blah blah. Well, at the end of the day, if it is really a business, and Weekend shouldn't like hamper not only his I guess his I'm looking for the word uh shouldn't hamper his possible like success, just so he can be nice to his friends, but not only his possible success, but like the three other people's and his coaches, like the four other teammates' possible success,
And
just
not
to
to
be
mention
nice
the
to him.
org.
Yeah, in the org as well. He can't be selfish and just like keep Incon as a friend. He has to do everything he has to possibly do to win. And it's like the
Right.
same thing. Like at the end of the day, it is a business and it is a job. And if people are underperforming and or if someone feels like they can make a change to sort of like make their team better, and it's completely in their right to pursue that change.
All right, so I want to get into relegations a little bit, and basically where I want to go from here is we'll go over the games for you guys and for Flashpoint, because you two are the teams getting into the SPL. We'll talk a little bit about that, and then I want to go talk a little bit about the SPL coming up. So first off, I like to talk a little bit about some of the strategies that I noticed when you guys played the Gatekeepers. Excuse me, Flashpoint. So one of the things I noticed was that Flashpoint side lanes all day were just on fire. I mean, what can you tell me about Sops and Dante? You know anything special about those guys?
Uh, they're not really that good. I'm not gonna lie to you.
Oh,
Like Dante kind of plays like mid game more solo laners, like more ability based solo laners, like Nike and Guardian stuff like that. Basically just he doesn't really try to win lane or try to even contest lane, and Sops was kind of like a last minute pickup. He's like a decent ASC, but he's kind of like the run of mill challenger player. As for like
yeah. Sops has been putting
as
in the
for
work though.
I mean it's not a very hard role. It's a very like deep role as well. There's a lot of good ADC players,
Well, that part is definitely true for sure. A lot of
and
ADCs.
it's a certain. I think it's like the easiest role in competitive Smite. I'm not saying that to diminish like his skill or anything like that, but it's not only the most it's the most deep role for a reason.
I was gonna say Wowie might like to have a word with you after that. Will comment.
No, he'll agree with me. He'll agree with me. But
Anyway, one of the other big things in that game I noticed that actually seems to dictate something about the meta that I'm seeing is that one of the big things Flashpoint did basically during Sunday's relegations was that they used a lot of ward coverage in order to make plays on early Gold Furies. And even in situations where, like, you had the Gatekeepers running that Amaterasu comp where they were just trying to burn objectives with Frenzy. I mean, Flashpoint still stole Gold Furies out from underneath them, and I'm just wondering, how heavily can ward coverage impact a game in Smite these days? Straight up.
Yeah, as for that, usually the early game is like pretty much decided in like the first 3 minutes. Usually they decide on like who starts where, and like basically if the team with the the I guess perceived like better pressure, they're basically going to be trying to get the most out of the map possible, or the other team's going to be trying to trade and minimize like the like, basically minimize the loss as much as possible. Instead of like advancing on from that 3 to 5 minute phase, it's the game becomes a lot more duo centric in the sense that like the team with duo pressure is basically just gonna be spamming wards and spamming oracle control on that side of the map and just playing off gold fairy. Whereas the team who played off solo side or traded solo side, they basically just need to use the solo pressure generated by playing off solo to basically stabilize the other side of the map, whether it's with a Osiris rotation or just like with a jungle, just group you up in the mid 3-3 and just getting out wards and deep wards and testing oracles. they basically are going to be doing all they can to stabilize and possibly overtake the other side of the map and snowball off to it, off solo side. That's pretty much how the game is played from 5 to 15, 5 to 20. You pretty much just contest oracles on cooldown and spam, and then the team with pressure would basically be spamming deep wards and sentry wards into the enemy jungle, and then playing off that, and basically playing off gold and playing off that side of the map. And if you continue to play off like a playoff solo, heading into like that sort of area, like 5 to 15, you're going to be like losing like every single trade because you're going to be trading, instead of like trading, say, speed and blue for red and purple, which is a pretty good trade, you're going to be trading speed and blue for gold free and oracle control and duo side pressure, which isn't really a good idea.
It's interesting that you note that because that's actually a pretty far cry from what I generally tend to see in queue games, where it's like if you snowball with your solo laner because you have the ability to pick fights.
Right, it's because they lack the coordination. It's because it's ranked. There's no coordination.
Yeah.
There's nothing to counterbalance that the pressure on the solo side of the map.
So is that one of the reasons why you guys started turning away from Kurnanos after the first time you guys drafted him?
We didn't really turn away from it. He's just I don't know, a lot of people, especially on the Smite right now. Every time I go on the Smite right, there's a fucking post about Kurnanos. He's just not really especially about it. He's kind of overrated, especially in like in competitive. Like I feel like a lot of the reasons why the gatekeepers drafts weren't as good as possible or weren't as like as clean, or because they were valuing Kurnanos so much that they were first picking him with who you available. And so basically, the second pick team would be trading a Kurnanos for a Hui, and Hui wins that matchup, like guaranteed. He gets pressure into that matchup. So you're basically first picking a god that's like, yeah, pretty good team fights, a pretty solid kit, but you're first picking a god that doesn't guarantee pressure in any lane. So the enemy team can respond to that. Basically, say the Hui pick, draft guaranteed mid and solo pressure, like say, like a Capri Bologna. That's pretty much going to guarantee you that side of the map pressure, and also give you the 1v1 pressure in Hui, and that's going to put you in a pretty deep hole. It's like a big reason why we I was like we didn't really I'm not gonna get into that, but I shouldn't really be getting into these specifics, but I want to say like that's a big flaw of a lot of NA drafts I've been seeing. They basically been overvaluing Cernos and not isolating the Cernos and leaving Hui open.
Well, I ask that because in your game against the Gatekeepers, actually, I noticed that you guys picked Ho Yi with Kurnanos up, and then he got picked third by Gatekeepers in their draft.
Oh yeah, no, like, I mean, we're basically just going for suicide. We're basically just going for pressure.
Right, and Ho Yi gives you that fight potential.
The only reason we'd be picking Cernos in that situation if we were going for the combo, which Cernos like synergized by the way, because he's like unique with Neath in the sense that he's the only one with an easily applied like AoE sort of CC ability. Like you have Neath one, or you have Kurnanos too, and that's like very good follow up of some god's certain abilities. I'm not gonna go into that much, but and basically it and also his ult is like a very good counter engage I guess ability. So like think about it, if a team's like all in each drop deal, and it makes for a very good, it's very good at counter engaging. And so if we were going for that sort of team fight utility, we'd pick Kurnanos in that situation. Otherwise, we'd pick Hui for the pressure. And Hui's team fight works with pretty much any comp.
Oh yeah, I mean what I really like about Hui, and one of the things I actually noticed, and I think Wowie and Sops put this on pretty good display throughout the entire competition, was that his early game right now is really crazy. And I mean, you combine like his jungle clear, his jungle presence, along with his ability to just 1v1 the other carry. I mean, I'm starting to think that he could be one of the best early game hunters right now. And he also scales. I mean, what do you think about that?
Yeah, he's certainly a good gun. But as for the Flashpoint game, I want to touch on that again. I kind of fucked up in the draft in the sense that I drafted Hercules so early, but we were confident going into it that if they picked Circuit, it wouldn't be a problem if we just picked the Gib. I want to say that still is true, but the reason why that game sort of snowballed out of control and Herc was able to get farmed by Circuit was because how the early 2v2 went. We took a fight at Ellie's, we outpoked them, but the thing is they got Ellie's. And yeah. Basically whoever got Ellie's decide whoever's going to get 5 in the next wave.
And that's what
and instead of playing around them getting 5 and just backing off conceding lane pressure, we chose to fight in the wave circuit at 5 and killed Herc. And Aqua could have also killed the Vamana if he has 2, but he missed his 2. And so because of it, Aqua's die as well. And so instead of it being like a possible 1-for-1, maybe 1-for-2, which I think it would have been 1-for-1, it ended up being like a 2-for-0, and then Circuit's just fucking ahead. And not only that, but they also got farm in R2. They basically like were 0-4, like heading into like that 5 to 6 minute phase. And Herc was like behind 2 levels, and Circuit's like massively ahead.
Right.
And she's gonna be building Runeforge in defense. Like that's gonna be a disaster. And then not only that, but also I think I should have probably talked to him before the game about the build, but he went possibly the worst possible build on Hercules could have won that situation, which is power boots and the breastplate. Had he went like Greaves in the Vanguard into like a defensive item, he would have been fine in all the fights. He would have been able to take the damage, we would have been able to fight off of them like going on the Herc. Or we could have just like reset with Geb Shield and been able to like just chill and then fight without Circuit.
All right. Yeah, I understand how that goes. I mean, obviously, Circuit 5 is probably one of the bigger power spikes you'll run into in Smite. So, getting caught by that can be pretty brutal. And then Warrior Jungle, a lot of times, just it doesn't scale well from behind. So, yeah, I'm glad you touched on that. Also, I'm noticing 2 gods that came up several times during the NA relegations were Nox on Sheikah, and then Vamana came up a couple times, and it worked sometimes. The Vamana worked a couple times, and then I know in like that first game by the Gatekeepers, it did not work out so well. But do you think that we could see like more Vamana or Nox in the meta?
Yeah, Vamana. As for Vamana, yeah, Shogun's makes Vamana like pretty good in solo because the attack speed and the cooldown reduction. Basically, like Synergy does really well with him, and he has like decent lane matchups into like a lot of gods. Like he gets fucked by like Herc loses to the Osiris. Blown, he's like he's alright into, but like it's not to the point where like it's not like 1U into like an Osiris or like 1U into Blown where you just get fucked. It's like it's like an RA matchup. You can live through it. It's like a Guardian. You just start clearing and just run away. It's kind of like Wukong, but
yeah, that's what I'm seeing.
But as for Nox, I don't really think Nox possibly. Yeah, I've seen like a lot of teams been practicing, and a lot of teams have like definitely been showing interest in the pick and been playing the pick more. However, I don't think the pick did anything in our games. It was mainly just off the solo pressure in the early game, which snowballed into the rest of the map.
Well, granted, you guys did get Geb in that game, and that's like one of the most effective things in.
Yeah, no, it is. If we got to mid game without being behind, or like we were able to stabilize, we would. It's like Geb is just such a hard counter into Circuit Nox.
Oh yeah. Yeah, Nox seems like a pick that a lot of people just like, and they want to like her because of that whole CC mage thing, where it's like she has really good crowd control on the one person, and you can totally focus them out. But it's just like this hit or miss thing, as we all know, and it's like
if the team's like prepared, if the team's prepared against it, and they're able to play, if they know how to play around it, then the pick has a very low chance of working.
Yeah, I think the only time I really saw it work effectively was when Stealth was running it with Allegiance back at the Gauntlet, and he was like just pulling it out, to try to get something going for them.
Right, and I believe they're playing it's were they playing it's Eager or is it LG?
I think he ran it like 3 times back then. I'm honestly forgetting off the top of my head right now, but
I believe he got wins off LG though. Had LG actually like been fair note and knew how to correctly play against the pick would have been a problem. I remember watching those games.
All right,
it's just it's a very pick oriented guide, and it's a very weird guide. Not only people have much experience against it, especially in competitive.
Yeah,
it just tends to catch people off guard.
Yeah, one of the things I always try to tell people when they like speak favorably about Nox is, other than Pretty Prime, how often do you see a Nox going above 20k damage, just in general? It doesn't really happen.
Yeah. And the whole pick basically relies on you being able to basically engaging at free beads, and the team to just basically allow you to take their beads and not do anything about it. Like the counter of Nox is basically just beads in your combo and just like fighting, just going all in, just running at them.
Yeah, it's like a red light, green light game. You see her cast it.
You basically just don't. You say group and you don't let yourselves get picked, and you basically don't let them get your beads for free. You basically just play extremely smart and just play cautious. And then when you do take a team fight, like beads and just like make sure that you go all in. You don't let them like sort of like get the beads and bait up and back off, then get the beads and back off and get the kill, because that's sort of how they snowball, and that's how like a Nox comp works.
All right, so looking forward now, I want to talk more about picks, just gods again. Like we've been talking some about Vamana and Nox. I don't want to talk about items, picks, and just how the meta's developing right now, because I'm looking forward to the SPL here, and I think that with some of the roster changes we've had both on your team, on Flashpoint's team, Eager's made some changes. I mean, there's a lot of unknowns, I think, coming in, and I also am starting to sense that there might be some changes that, you know, fans at home are not going to see coming. Do you have any comments on that right off the bat?
Uh, as for roster changes, I think there's gonna be like some NA stuff in the works. I know for sure. As for EU, no fucking clue, man. I have some like idea of some CC stuff that's gonna happen, but I don't think much. I don't think anything's gonna change for the SPL, but I don't know.
Right.
As for NA, there's definitely gonna be some interesting stuff coming out.
All right, so this is gonna be based on some of the things that I saw people trying to run, amongst other things. But one thing I saw like Venenu doing a lot was he was running Book of the Dead. Can you tell me a little bit about how you think this item fits in?
If you're able to have like if you have wave pressure and you're able to basically just walk up to the wave and just clear without the fear of taking poke. If you basically just have wave pressure and it's basically just a snowball item. That's basically like the easiest way to put it. If you're able to go up to the wave and just fearfully clear the wave without taking any sort of poke, without fear of taking any sort of poke or losing anything from it, then you know, it can be like a decent item. Otherwise, it's like from behind, it's like pretty shit because it doesn't give you any pen. It gives you like a decent amount of power and health, but like it's just not like that good of an item from behind.
It's like, why would you pick it up over Bancroft's?
Or it's especially with how expensive it is.
Yeah. I mean, so you're saying it's kind of like a win harder item, kind of in the sense that if you're ahead with Doom Orb, you know,
it's kind of like Bloodlust. It's kind of like Bloodlust and Shaman. It's like a win more thing.
Oh yeah. So when you call it the sort of because I know that like SPL Gatekeepers draft when they went Kern, Chang'e, Amaterasu, Soul Vamana like had no hard CC in it. But is there any reason you would like
also no? I don't like that comp at all. No.
You don't like
There's You're right. There's no hard CC, but more importantly, there's no hard regular CC or hard regular CC engage. That's a huge thing.
Oh yeah.
That comp just screams awkward.
Yeah, it's like, I mean, you can push towers, you can siege, you can get objectives if you're ahead, but I feel like one of their biggest problems
if you're
is they
at that point, any comp's gonna look it's a shit comp.
Yeah. I was like watching the whole time and seeing that okay, SPL Gatekeepers are getting some wins like at first, but I just knew because of their total lack of hard CC, it was like you guys. I mean, they're not gonna scale well in the late game, no matter how well individual gods do. Because when you their hard CC was. They have like mini knock up on Soul. They had knock up on Vamana Dash. They had the stun on Ama ult, stun on Chang'e ult, and then Kernanos ult. That's not reliable.
Right. Like more, you can like if you say you have like a Rama Soul, like two very safe backline carries, you can sort of like get away with like having less hard CC in your team because you don't really need as much in the sense of hard CC is like very important for like displacement and peel and stuff like that. But as for but like. The big thing here is they don't have any hard regular CC ability that really engages the team fight. They don't have a dash taunt. They don't have a Bacchus flop. They don't have actual engage. Yeah. It's like their engage is Alma pressing W or Mana pressing W, and that's not how you start fights.
Right, and if you like Alma ult to start a fight, people will just back up. You can't do that. So
it's what the word we describe it is like telegraphed. People see it coming, they play around it, and nothing happens.
Yeah. So there are two things that I've seen, both of which are actually hunter-related. They're actually build-related things, and I see this a lot in casuals, but I also saw, I think, Day run this at least once, where he just ran Fatalis kind of early. Now, has Fatalis lost its value now that it's been bumped up to 2600?
In a sense, yeah, but they also increased attack speed, and the passive still is pretty fucking nuts. I still think it's like a decently good item. But I haven't really like I guess I need to talk to Wally more about it, but I haven't really made any like decisions on it yet.
I mean, in my eyes, I just feel like it's a much less efficient item than it used to be because I can understand with 10 pen at 2300, you know, you can still justify.
Yeah, but you can't really measure efficiency in terms of you can't really measure like the value the passive like gives you. It's kind of like intrinsic value. Like I guess you can sort of look back in the game and be like, wow, I didn't really get much value out of that. Like I was heading for, I was behind, I was heading for like 20, but uh, it's sort of like the value of the passive is kind of hard to measure.
Yeah, that's definitely true. So yeah, I guess you could say it's more god dependent than like certain gods who can use it really well, like maybe
I
Medusa.
guess it makes it more it makes it a lot more situational.
Yeah, and so there's another thing I noticed, and I think I saw almost everybody do this, but Ho Yi is a passive that prevents him from getting crit all the time. But why were people still building crit in Ho Yi?
They at that point in the game when you have crit, you're less worried about the 1v1, and you're more worried about team fights. Like people don't really build around the lane like that deep in their build. They're building usually around team fights and what's good and like what's good against their team. So they're building crit. They just value crit versus their team.
I see. So if you could take one pick from any of your 3 games that you played, just one pick in your draft, would you change it? And which pick would it be?
I'd probably change that Flashpoint draft, but I'm not gonna tell you what I'll change about it.
All right.
I guess like that game we had the opportunity of running something very interesting, and but I think I would probably just postpone the Hercules pick, the third pick. But
All right. Well, yeah,
I'm pretty happy that we got. I'm pretty happy that we got through allegations about running a lot of our comps.
Yeah, I noticed that you guys played really, really standard, relatively speaking. I mean, there was nothing like there. I didn't see anything that would have been like, oh wow, this is like groundbreaking. But no, and that's not meant to throw shade. It's just like, it's clear you guys were trying to keep it safe.
Yeah, I mean, with 3 best of 1s, I guess we didn't really feel like especially me, I didn't really feel like we really needed to take the risk or really need to be that team to try something weird to sort of like edge out a win. I feel like we were just good enough to just if we just played our own game, we just played our own played like safe and tried and true picks that we could just get through rallies easy. And it ended up being like that.
All right. So here's something. Here's something that I've been saying since the start of the season when they changed RuneForge around. So you can just call me whatever you want for saying this, but why is it taking this long for people to realize that RuneForge is actually a really effective item on gods with like CC combos that they can use themselves?
Yeah, I guess people were slow to it with this recent patch, but usually with an item like that where when they release it, it just is like absolute dog shit. People just get that people just like kind of forget about it, and they just automatically associate that item with like bad or trash, or just don't even they don't even think about it. And it isn't until like later that some weird and edgy fuck just eventually finds that item. And he's like, hey, this is pretty good. I'm gonna run this in my ranked games, and then it sort of just catches on. I mean, that sort of happened after the breastplate nerf with Mystical Mail and Deathwalker. It sort of just takes that one contrarian to like be like, hey, I'm gonna build this weird ass fucking item. I'm just gonna run around. It sort of just takes that one contrarian to start the trend.
Yeah, yeah, I definitely agree. I mean, like when I first saw the latest change to RuneForge, I thought to myself, hey, Thork might actually be able to make pretty good use of this. And then of course Serket, it's just logical because she's probably got like the best CC combo for the item.
Yeah.
So another thing I'm noticing, and correct me if I'm wrong about this, but I'm starting to feel like with the Lano's Mask edition, if people run Traveler's Shoes generally on Guardians, it looks like they're getting a lot more gold than they used to. Am I seeing this right?
Well, with Lone, it's like a thing about it. It also not only does it like it rewards people for basically not taking sacks, so it adds that extra incentive. So like with like watchers, it's kind of hard to see that effect from like like not taking like gold. You kind of just like whatever 3 gold. But like when you're stacking an item, you constantly see that stack. You constantly see that meter ticking up, and like people just associate that with good. So they basically just go out of their way to just not take as much last hits as they do anymore. So that's why like supports are probably like farming a lot more efficiently. Is because the extra incentive and the type of incentive given by Lonos to just not take last hits, even though they already should be doing that with watchers. But it doesn't really end up being like that. People are just going out of their way not to take last hits a lot more than they did before.
Yeah, but the funny thing that I noticed, well, actually, okay, I see where you're going with that, because Watchers gives you the bonus gold for not taking the last hits, and since people more consciously do this, they're making better use of their items, and thus they're getting more gold.
Right.
Yeah, that okay, I see where you're going with that. Now,
and also,
Go ahead.
fucking when you finish slowness, it's an incredibly efficient when you're able to finish it. It's just that you lose out on like a it can delay your build for a little bit, and you lose out like the policy you start, which is like nothing. It's incredibly efficient. I believe it gives you like it's like 633 gold. It gives you after you're like done, or is like
733.
it's like yeah 733. That's right. So it gives you like a 233 gold profit. So that's like another reason why the farming is probably a lot better.
Yeah, but people don't sell that off. I've noticed, and I personally agree with
Yeah,
that.
no, they keep it until later in the game.
Yeah, because
Yeah.
I would not sell the item. I've tried like selling it and rebuying, and it just doesn't work that way because it takes so much longer.
No,
After
that's a horrible idea.
I know.
That's a horrible idea.
Everybody, like in theory, it sounds good. You know, you keep selling it back, and you get the extra profit every single time. But it's like the 75
But
stats
no,
actually
at that
take longer
point,
than the
it's like yeah. At that point, it's like 150 HP and it's like 5 HP 5, and that's pretty fucking relevant. So there's no reason to sell that until you absolutely need to. And when you do sell that, it's basically a 33 gold bump. It's pretty fucking good.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. So here's another thing I'm noticing, and this is funny because everybody hates this god in like cube matches, but he just doesn't seem to be as dangerous in comp matches, and that's Susanoo. Is he a pub stomp god? Is he like the Ao Kwang now of the game?
I mean, he's definitely a good competitive god, but I'm not sure how good he is in casuals because I don't really have much issue of any god in casuals. Yeah, I'm quite the I'm quite the unstoppable train in the solo lane casuals, but I guess he is a lot better along with Ceranos in those casual matches than competitive. I wouldn't really know, to be honest.
Okay. Yeah, because I just noticed that, Susanoo, like, because the thing that gets people, I think, in casuals is that his rotational presence, his ability to, like, move a lot really screws with people. But since it's managed well and everything's more coordinated in a competitive game, my
Oh
observation
yeah,
is
I'm
that,
sure they and also like every single one of his abilities isn't a skill shot. You don't even auto cancel him in like those lower. I feel in those lower level matches to actually like do damage and be able to kill people. And I'm sure like nobody can hit shit on Susanoo in those lower level matches, so it does make sense. But like I said, I wouldn't know.
yeah, I'm just observing that, he just doesn't have the same kind of presence when people are able to coordinate and deal with him. But it's like when he can, like, isolate somebody and just keep roaming and ganking, it's like he's unstoppable.
Yeah. It's kind of like Loki being good in like lower level ranked in casuals. It's
Yeah.
like the same reason.
All right, here's a big question because we put a little bit of emphasis earlier on the 3v3. Can you win a game if both your side lanes are losing?
Uh, you could start to use the three. You could start to use like the pressure. If you have pressure generating the 3v3 and you're winning the 3v3, you could sort of like use that to alleviate pressure in the sidelines and lift your sidelines up. I mean, it's possible, yeah.
All right. So on to some more general stuff. I know I'm talking a lot about like specific items and gods, and it's all like this niche stuff. That's just me, and so I'm honestly not like sitting here trying to make you like reveal strats or anything. I just want to say that. So yeah, but I do want to go over just regular like the SPL stuff now. So let's talk about the North American SPL a little bit. So we're going into the season. We've got Eager, Luminosity, Sora, United, In Memory of Gabe, Allegiance, Noble, and Flashpoint. How are you feeling about that so far? Who do you have on top?
I don't know. I just know we're gonna be on the bottom.
Dang, I love that. I love that enthusiasm, man.
I'm just being honest.
Yeah, well,
I'm not gonna bullshit.
I respect that. I respect that.
As for like how roster's gonna perform and stuff, I'm not really sure. Like I'm not really gonna make any predictions outside of the fact that I think Luminosity is basically like the only team that's like I want to say safe for top 3. As for everyone else, they could sort of fall in between.
Yeah, it's definitely with a lot of the changes. I can see how that would go. Certainly because E United had a change. I mean, Soar stayed together. I've noticed that LG and Soar are kind of the two favorites in NA right now because they stayed together. Do you think that's sound logic to go by?
It's not bad logic to go by. Yeah,
Yeah, because
I can understand that.
I mean, Allegiance, I don't really count them as a team that had a change, but I mean, still Vivian is, aka Guy in Your Bed, he's pretty new still. So, I mean, like, I'm treating him like a rookie.
Right. I think guys actually like a pretty good support, and I think not only guys effect on the team, but also the effect of the positive. I guess like the change in the atmosphere that came with guys. Guys addition. I actually don't know any specifics that happened in that situation. I just know and I am told that the atmosphere improved once Guy joined the team, and it sort of makes sense knowing that knowing Guy's personality. He's hyper positive and hyper agreeable, and so it sort of makes sense that that team would be I guess doing better. And I actually think that team is actually probably better if Guy or a different sport from Mike. That situation just wasn't good for not only just Mike but basically like all parties involved.
All right. Yeah. So then, with that kind of insight, I guess I can kind of value Allegiance a little bit more because honestly, I've still been a skeptic of them since their earlier performance this season. But yeah, that seems to what you're saying coincides a lot with the kinds of things that has been saying about Guy when they first made the move. So I can see that. But let's see. It seems like besides 5 out of the 8 teams coming back to the NASBL had roster changes of some sort, unless Walrus comes back to In Memory of Gabe. But
Oh yeah.
yeah, I don't know about that. I'm not looking for leaks right now.
Yeah, I if Warriors doesn't come back to Gabe and he somehow doesn't find a team, which I think is pretty likely if he doesn't come back to Gabe, then that's gonna be like a horrible deflection. That's gonna be like I'm gonna be so sad because seeing a person like him, a person of his talent, which in my opinion, he's like a top 4, top 3 solo player in NA. He's like one of the best that we have. Seeing him outside the seeing him outside the SPL while others are in would be pretty fucking horrible for the scene.
Yeah, I mean, it almost seemed like that with Divios too until he came back to Eager actually. So we'll see how that goes, huh?
Yeah.
That was actually pretty surprising when I heard about that.
Uh,
Like Divios
I wasn't
thing.
surprised at all. And it kind of Davies kind of leaving or like them kicking Davies kind of seemed like an overreaction. I wouldn't really like see Davies being like a root cause of those problems on that team. I can understand however I could definitely see DJ being a sort of like a big a big personality that caused divides and caused people to sort of be pushed into factions on that team. And Davies sort of was pushed into DJ's faction and got grouped in with him.
So let's talk about the $1 million baby for a second. Sam for Soccer 2. What do you know about him?
We actually tried him out when we were trying out junglers, and we ended up with going Cope over him because we just valued Cope shot calling and his communication a lot more than Sam's potential. But when I was working with him, I sort of got the vibe that he reminded me a lot of Adjust about the personality and communication issues.
Interesting.
He came across to me as a player with extremely big potential, but also could sort of suffer from the same problems that I want to say Homie and Andy have suffered from, in the sense that they if they ever get behind, they sort of resort to just this hyper passive farming mode where they don't ever take initiation. They basically just have trouble taking initiation and basically suffer a lot from hesitation in their play. And in a role such as jungle, which is like one of the 2 main roles that you can take initiation on and sort of lead your team and lead the charge on, which is like a support in jungle for like most of the game. You need to be constantly be taking that initiative whether you're behind or not, or ahead or not. Rather, I guess is a better way to put it.
Yeah, I can definitely understand. Because it's like if you're behind and you're just hanging out there, enemy team's just gonna say, okay, we're gonna go hit here with everything we've got, and they're gonna
And you sort of need to trade on the other side of the map, basically do anything that basically gets your team through the early game into the mid and late. Otherwise, if you basically just sort of collapse and basically concede everything and just give up, then you pretty much you just lose the game by default. You need to be always taking initiative in Smite, regardless of the situation.
Well, I mean, let's take a crazy example for a second. I mean, if you've got Anubis mid, you've got Chalk solo lane, you've got Thanatos jungle. I mean, just all early game across the board on one team, and you're losing to them. And then if you try to take a fight against that, or you try to,
Right.
I guess if you try to do as you're saying, and you try to find other objectives on the map or things that you can do while they're trying to
Say a team's like a formatting speedbuff on Souls as a way to like basically push their lead. What you need to be doing is if you can't fight that 4v4, look for red and purple on the other side of the map. Look for anything on the other side of that. Possibly just push away mid and shove away mid tower. Just basically do anything to basically cut your losses and instead of making that just a pure loss, make that like a trade of some sort. Something I want to differentiate though is a lot of people use pressure, but they don't. I feel like people don't really understand the term. They're kind of just using pressure as a buzzword. And I sort of picked up on that when you're like mentioning some of those gods like Thanatos. Now a lot of people associate Thanatos with early game pressure, but what he doesn't, he brings like a good like fight in a 2v2. But when a lot of people are speaking about pressure, what they truly mean is wave pressure. And so what has decided wave pressure or pressure since like the beginning of season 3 when people were like started realizing, hey, they can't really contest the speed buff if they have a wave in mid tower. Is they basically started valuing clear, and that's why gods like Thor said would be less valued because heading into season 3 because Thor's like clear is like not that great, but his 2v2 is really good. And the same goes for like Thanatos and other gods as well. Whereas like gods like Circuit or Rat or Naja, although Naja and Circuit and Rat all coincidentally have great early game fights. Those gods try to be picked for early game pressure because they're early game clear. Like they have extremely fast clear and they're able to get through the jungle and clear the waves. And the same goes for like every sort of pressure pick or I guess what people would call pressure pick in the meta. It's not like pressure in the sense of I'm going to fight you. It's pressure in the sense of I can clear this wave faster than you. Pressure is basically wave pressure, and people use it in that sense.
So you're saying that pressure, when people say pressure, they're referring to wave pressure specifically.
Yeah, it's I feel like it's a misunderstood term. It's basically clear dictates pressure more so than the actual fight of the god. Elegant.
I see. All right. Well, that's a good distinction there. So because I think it's pretty good to that though. I mean, I say this kind of jokingly, but I guess if you're being compared to Homie Afe and Andinster, even in a bad way, I guess it could be worse, right?
Yeah, and especially Adjustment. Like Adjust was a fucking fantastic player, but suffered from a lot of like I guess personality communication issues. Was basically like suffered and like ended his career. Had he not had those issues, he could have been basically the best mechanical jungler in NA.
Yeah,
and
actually,
like, and a top 2 jungler.
Because it's like I just remember he was at Worlds, and then suddenly it was like he was Xbox, and then he disappeared, and it was like, dang man, whatever happened there?
He was on Denial for a little bit, but then he got replaced in Denial after we left enemy and joined Denial. Basically, Adjust is like downfalls. Is that he basically has near silent communication, and his team play suffers a lot from it, and that's why his best gods were sort of pick gods like Circuit or Basset, but gods that could sort of like roam around the map, look for picks, and do their own thing. Because his team play obviously wasn't the strongest part of his game because his communication and just the personality that he had wasn't very good for it, and so that's why people like so that's why he sort of fell out of the scene.
Yeah. So anyway, this is a little bit of a non sequitur, but I've been noticing this on Twitter. I think I've seen like 3 Challenger Cup spots being sold off, or people are attempting to sell them off right now. Do you have an opinion about that?
I don't know. I think I think Challengers is a shit fest, man. From everything about Challengers is kind of just it's kind of just one big shit fest. From the prizing, who runs it, to the teams, what they're doing, and what the orgs are doing, etc., etc. It's kind of unfortunate. The current state of the Challenger scene in Smite.
I mean, I understand to an extent. I've literally talked to people and advised them not to sign with orgs before because I've read the contract and gone, "This is terrible. They're giving you
don't ever sign up an org unless they're giving you a sizable salary."
Yeah, because that's the thing, and I actually do want to kind of put this time as a PSA. If an org is basically telling you, we get a cut of winnings, you get to wear our jersey, but you don't get paid salary, don't sign with them, please, guys. Please.
Even if there's no cut, just don't do it. There's no reason to. Just chill and wait.
I mean, yeah, it just doesn't make business sense, because if people are asking you to sign, but you're not getting paid. You're not getting value back from them. Like, what are you really getting? A free keyboard, a jersey?
Yeah,
It's no big deal.
you're giving them free exposure, and more importantly, your SPL spot or your CSC spot. It's just not a smart decision to make. Just hold out because there's no reason not to just hold out for that one good offer, and then take that one good offer and see where it goes.
Absolutely, absolutely, and yeah, I
Don't sell
understand.
yourself short.
I absolutely understand how you can call the Challenger Cup kind of a mess because of stuff like that. You know, people maybe have less experience, not just in Smite and playing on a competitive level, but also with some of the more finesse things, shall we say, like the business side. You know.
Yeah, and it's also just super unfortunate that the challenger team is getting paid $250 a week.
Yeah.
That's pretty
So
fucking awful. And
so okay, let's say you have Cooper's job for a second. What do you do about the Challenger League?
I mean, I don't pretend to know the logistics and the all the information going involved in, or like sort of like why Tier Monster was running it, and sort of like who like as to why like these companies are running it. But I do know for sure that something needs to be done about the pricing, about the sort of the advertising of the league and stuff like that. If Smite and the NA and CC UCC scenes are going to like continue to actually like be a thing, because
Yeah.
there's a huge amount of incentive to like one, not only even play Smite at the prospect of how CC is, but also just go to Xbox.
Yeah, absolutely. I definitely remember, and I was actually talking about this the other day with some amateur guys who are like CC level on Olympus stream, I think it was, and people were talking about how like the Challenger Cup for a while actually got depleted because of Xbox. Like it took a lot of people, and it kept taking people at the start of this season. Like Caden and
Yeah.
Medieval come to mind as two people who went over. I mean, and I'm sure there are more that I'm just not remembering off the top of my head, but I just remember like if everybody who had went from PC to Xbox had just stayed, like, if you think about that, at least from the NA side where I know people more, it's like this we could have more stacked teams if you think about it, possibly.
No, it's kind of crazy to think about, but like, yeah, also like, there's also been like, there are also probably been like a lot of players who have just quit, who have just not gone on teams and just like, sort of stopped playing stuff like that. So it wouldn't have just been like a complete like, let's add the two scenes together. It would have been like, sure, there would have been like we would have lost a lot of players in the process, but we definitely would have a bigger and healthier scene
Yeah, I
than
mean,
what we have now.
like Mango comes to mind as an example. I mean, just think.
I think he's
This is
back.
all.
I think he's playing right now.
Oh, you think he is? Because last time I heard he got accepted to an Ivy League school and he was going full
Yeah,
time
he's
in
playing
League.
right now on the team. It
Okay.
has been announced yet, but he's playing. Yeah.
Well, that's good to hear. I mean, I like him. I like Benny Q. They're both two cool dudes, And I asked them. I thought they were brothers for the longest time, so I would always call Mango Larry Q as a joke because his name is listed as Lawrence. So that was my thing. But anyway, I
Right.
like those two guys because they are, I think, cousins or son. But it's like they're both really
Yeah,
fun
the
players to
cousins.
watch. So it's good to hear at least. But
Yeah,
yeah,
Betty Q is a really fucking good AC man. He's probably the best AC not in the SPL. I think he's actually better than like I want to say like at least a couple of SPL ACs right now. He's a really fucking good player.
yeah, I've heard that since like the start of season 3, and at first I was like, no, there's got to be a reason he's not in the SPL. And when I actually started watching him, I realized it's definitely not due to his play. Like his Aokwang ADC, when I watched him run that in the Challenger Cup, was insane. I mean, the thing is
Yeah.
that it's so hard, like it's so insanely hard to run when you actually try to do it yourself, and he just makes it look easy.
I know Flashpoint sort of like made the decision to get stops like the day before relegations because there's like some issues of him and Shadow Q and basically like differences in how to play the game, and he just didn't like playing a Shadow. But just from knowing the guy, knowing much about him, an actual like structured environment, I don't think he'll be much of an issue.
Yeah. Well, I guess going back to that logic we were talking about with signing with the team, I guess in Benny Q's case, you could say, he's just gonna wait for the perfect offer, because you never know what could happen.
Yeah, it's just unfortunate that like an AEC is such a stacked role.
Oh yeah, that's for sure. I mean, you go down the list and it's like Vedium, Pandacat, Ocean, Snoopy, Zapman, Barracuda. It's like, dang, you have got a lot of good hunters, man. And I think, if nothing else, NA might have EU beat in that sense. I mean, and that's not even a takeaway because EU's
Definitely.
got great ADCs, but it's like Would you take Barracuda or Zap over anybody in EU? Because I kind of would.
Yeah, I definitely like our sidelines better than EU's. But
Yeah,
that's pretty much all we got.
but it's actually that seems to be it's interesting now that I think about it because that seems to be one of the biggest problems that EU kind of has sort of mastered the mid lane 3v3, and that's just kind of the basis of the game right now.
uh, yeah, they just sort of know how to play the map and they know how to correctly play the game. They just have a really good philosophy, not only approaching a team environment and such, but actually how to how the game should be played at the highest level. I don't want to go into too much detail, but that's pretty much the reason why I think they sort of been pulling ahead.
You think that? Well, why do you think it is that they got into this position where they're like figuring these things out faster than NA? Because I don't want to say it's complacency. I don't see people on NA being complacent. Of course, I'm not that
Uh,
close.
Complacency, sure, but also I feel like the teams that sort of figured out the teams that sort of pulled ahead in EU were a lot more mature and had a lot better team environments, and also by those teams pulling ahead, even if the rest of the team sort of still suffer from the immaturity problems that you come to expect. They sort of just get better by default by playing those teams and studying those teams and stuff like that. So all it takes is like one, two, or three teams to just pull ahead and pull the rest of the scene with them.
That's a good point. So you think that basically? I mean, let me put it like this. So would you say that it's accurate to say that Energy kind of pulled ahead of everybody, and then the rest of EU kind of caught up and now obeys in this
Right.
position where they've
Yeah,
got their
sure.
dream team?
Yeah, sure. And also why a lot of EU like suck dick at season 2 except for energies because they're just so trash at picks and bans, man. Like it was so easy. Just that tournament was so easy to even against energy. Like it was so easy to pick and ban against all those teams and basically get like the desired comp that we want and also minimize the comp that they wanted to get. And I feel like that's another aspect in their game that sort of they definitely have improved upon. They definitely put a lot more emphasis on picks and bans after especially after season 2 and how and what people saw an enemy basically getting the second place because of our picks and bans.
Do you think that's what was one of the big reasons for your guys' success was draft?
Yeah, that was pretty much what got us there.
I mean, I can definitely see that. Like the paradigm set, everybody looks to that and goes, "What the heck was paradigm thinking?" So yeah, I mean, not to take away
I
from
mean,
you guys though.
yeah, no, we weren't really like a stellar team. We had a shit ton of internal team problems. We scrimmed twice leading up to that tournament, but me and Chaos and the rest of people on the team were just pretty successful at guessing the meta, and I was really successful at picking banning.
Yeah, well, second place doesn't lie. At the biggest tournament in Smite. So anyway, it's been good talking to you, Draylo. I appreciate your time here, and I think we've just hit the hour mark, so I'm gonna wrap it up here. But thanks for your time, dude.
Yeah, no problem. Thanks for having me on.
Yeah. Any shout outs you want to make? Anything else you got to say?
Shout outs to Noble. They're pretty nice, and eighth seed is ours. So don't go challenge it, man.
All right, man. Peace out, and again, thank you so much for your time. You have a good one.
Yeah, no problem. See you around.